Welcome to this explainer. All right, the pinnacle of international sports, the FIFA World Cup, is undergoing literally the most massive evolution in its entire history for 2026. Today, we're unpacking the five biggest changes coming to North America that are honestly going to fundamentally restructure the beautiful game as we know it.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The World Cup is changing in a massive way. We're counting down the five biggest structural shifts coming to the 2026 tournament. And look, this isn't just some, minor schedule tweak or a simple venue change. It's a total reimagining of the whole shebang, from the very first kick of the qualifiers all the way to the lifting of that iconic trophy. Let's just get right to it.
Let's start with change number one, 48. That is the magic number here. For the very first time ever, the tournament is expanding to a massive 48 teams. To put that into perspective, that's nearly a quarter of all FIFA member nations stepping out onto the global stage. This fundamentally rewrites the tournament structure. We're talking 12 groups of 4, and because the top 2 teams from each group, plus the 8 best third-place finishers, are all going to advance, we're being introduced to a completely new knockout phase, a massive round of 32. And the numbers brilliantly illustrate what a monumental leap we're talking about. We're moving from that historic 32-team format we've loved since, 1998, straight into a 48-team juggernaut. A massive 50% increase in competing nations absolutely changes the dynamic, the stamina, and the strategy required to actually win. Actually, because of that new round of 32, the eventual champions will now have to play 8 matches instead of the traditional 7. Now, it might just sound like one extra game, but at the highest level of international competition, man, those extra 90 minutes represent a grueling test of squad depth and physical endurance. So moving on to change number 2, which is all about sheer volume. A 48-team roster naturally balloons the schedule, officially making this the biggest World Cup in history. We're jumping from the traditional 64 matches to a staggering 104 total games, all over the course of roughly 40 days. That is an absolute marathon of football. And sure, more matches mean a wider canvas for those historic, unforgettable moments we wait 4 years for, but it also creates an intense logistical and physical demand that the sport has literally never seen on a single stage before. And where is all this extra action even happening? Well, change number 3 is geographically massive. For the first time, we have an unprecedented tri-nation hosting setup across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Just imagine the logistical scale of this for a second. Teams might have to travel from the high altitude of Mexico City straight to the coastal chill of Vancouver and then over to the intense humidity of Miami. Squads and fans are going to be navigating entirely different climates, multiple time zones, and totally distinct football cultures in a true continent-wide journey. Honestly, the environment itself becomes a fascinating variable in the tournament. Now, change number 4 highlights the global ripple effect of all this growth. Basically, more nations finally get their chance to qualify. With 16 extra slots up for grabs, the global qualification maps are entirely rewritten. For regions like Africa and Asia, their guaranteed representation has increased significantly. Countries that have historically suffered heartbreak right on the bubble, those highly competitive teams that always just miss the cut in grueling regional qualifiers, well, they now have a tangible, realistic path to step onto the ultimate stage. It completely democratizes the dream of World Cup football. Which brings us to the emotional peak of all these updates, change number 5. And the promise here is incredibly simple. More football, more rivalries, and more unforgettable moments than ever before. By injecting fresh teams into the mix, we're pretty much guaranteeing new, modern rivalries. We're going to witness high-stakes matchups between nations that have rarely, if ever, crossed paths in competitive play. This huge diversity of playstyles guarantees the most unpredictable and action-packed spectator experience the sport has ever delivered. It's going to be wild. So when you stack these 5 changes together, the leap to 48 teams, that incredible jump to 104 matches, the sprawling tri-nation footprint, the wide-open qualification paths, and the sheer volume of new global rivalries, the result is just undeniable. 2026 is going to shatter all previous sporting event records as the largest football event the world has ever seen. I mean, the scale of this operation is simply breathtaking. With the biggest stage in history set, the expanded brackets locked in, and some new powerhouses gearing up for the massive trek across North America, I leave you with this. With 48 teams in the mix and an extra knockout round you literally have to survive, which nation do you think will navigate the chaos to win it all? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep that curiosity alive.